I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everybody to the Vergne Planning Commission January 25th, 2020 public hearing meeting at 6 p.m. We'll read our first item is Planning Commission Resolution 2022-01, Amendment to the Subdivision Regulations, amend Article 2, Section 2-106.2 and Article 4, Section 4-108.5 to refer these fees to the fee schedule that is being established by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. The podium is open if anybody would like to speak on this matter. Once again, I give anyone the opportunity to speak on this matter. With no one coming to the podium, we'll adjourn the public hearing. Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everybody to the Vergne Planning Commission January 25th, 2022 regular meeting at 6 p.m. We do have a quorum. Our first item of business, approve the meeting minutes from the December 28th, 2021 regular meeting. We'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept as submitted.
Motion to accept. Do we have a second?
Second. Third.
Second by Vice Chair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? First item of business. Site plan, BJ's Wholesale, new building including wholesale store, gas station, tire center, and liquor store totaling 107,687 square feet on 20.51 acres, requested by Kimley Horn. Property located on Industrial Boulevard, tax map 29, parcel 14.01, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District, property owned by BJ Wholesales. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. This is a request for site plan approval for the BJ's Wholesale Club that is locating on Industrial Drive. This site, you can see it on the screen, is sometimes referred to as the Golden Triangle. It's a large tract that's been zoned commercial for about, over a decade, probably at least, maybe 2 decades. But it is right behind the Target. Of course, the Target is located in Smyrna. So this is the last parcel in Laverne, and then the border of Smyrna and Laverne is this eastern side of the parcel. You can see there on the zoning map, this red color is the C2 commercial zoning that I mentioned, and you'll notice everything else just about around it is the dark blue, which signifies I2 heavy industrial. So these are some photos of the site. All of you all are probably familiar with this site by now. There's some steep rock cuts to the rear of the property that create sort of a cliff, and then on top of that cliff is this apartment development, and those apartments too are located in Smyrna. But anyway, you can see those from the front of the property and the road as you drive by. Zooming out just a little, you can see sort of remnants of a asphalt driveway, older driveway. This is Target in the distance and some of their loading areas in the rear of the store. It's another view of Target. And this is the roadway condition. Currently in front of the site, there's just a grass shoulder, no sidewalks presently. And this section is a 3-lane, at least in this photo, this part is 3-lane. And I know BJ's is proposing improvements with turn lanes and such in front of this site. There's another view there. So that's looking southeast towards Smyrna. And of course, there's several billboards on the site, as you know. I think there's 3 total. So they've been there a long time, and I know the applicant has been working to solve some of the issues that may arise from the billboard locations. So this is the site plan submitted by the applicant. This store is a total of 107,687 square feet, so almost 108,000 square feet. They are proposing within the same building, there's a tire center that you've probably seen on the plans. So that's going here toward the southeast side of the store. They also are proposing a liquor store that would have a dedicated entrance separate from the wholesale part of the store. This is also shows you the detention area and the entrance driveway connection there to industrial. There are some areas that we'll discuss in a little bit. Sinkhole area that, of course, most of y'all have seen on the plans. I think this was first submitted in November, so there's been a couple deferrals for different reasons. But I know Kyle will get into that possibly with his report. They do show right now all the driveways are at least 30 feet wide, and they're providing 460 parking spaces on this plan where only 260 are required. So the parking is ample for this site. And there is a materials board that's been submitted several times. It's at the podium. They're not required to do so, but they did submit a materials board. I've left the older plans in here from November in case anybody would like to see those. And the only comments at this point that are left are from the engineering side, so I'll turn that over to Mr. Brown. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown, please.
Yep. Basically, the only technical item they had left was the sidewalk issue that, because of the sinkhole, basically at the workshop, y'all had requested that amount be figured, and basically it totals up to be about 480 feet, so that's $28,800. So you'll need to make, if you're okay with the plan as submitted and with the sidewalk fee in lieu portion for that area and, the sinkhole, you'll just need to, make that in your motion subject to the fee in lieu of $28,800.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from the board? If we have somebody here from this project, please come to the podium. State your name and address, please.
Good evening, Brett Beeler, 6120 Pennsylvania Avenue, Nashville, Tennessee, representing Kimley Horn.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions or comments from the board on this item? The only request I have is, could they said you had a materials board, so we can get a feel for it. Very good. Thank you, thank you, sir.
Chairman, I'd just like to say that I appreciate the applicant working with us and clearing all the 15 items that were on there from the workshop and addressing the items that we have. So with that, I'll make a motion to accept it submitted with the inclusion of acceptance of the fee in lieu of $28,800.
What was that amount, Mr. Brown?
$28,800.
$28,800.
Thank you,
Our
sir.
second.
We have a motion to accept as submitted with the sidewalk fee in lieu. We have a second by Mayor Cole. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very
Thank
much, sir. Next item. Items number 2 has been withdrawn or deferred. Item number 3 has been withdrawn. We will move on to item number 4. Site plan 227 Waldron Road, new building totaling 9,500 square feet on 1.4 acres, requested by Fulmer Lucas. Property located at 227 Waldron Road, tax map 17, parcel 2.04, C2 Highway Service Zoning District, property owned by Ascend Federal Credit Union. Mr. Logan.
This is a site plan request for a retail paint store totaling 9,500 square feet to be built on Waldron Road. And this is immediately adjacent to the Ascend Federal Credit Union location. So you can see here on the screen, this is Ascend Federal Credit Union, and it's the site to the north. So the address of this site is 227 Waldron Road. And on the zoning map, you can see near the top, this red lot, Zone C2, and that's highway service, commercial zoning. This is one of the lighting plans that was submitted. Moving on to the site plan, so on the screen you can see the design of the site. And this site is located in the overlay district, and we'll get to that in a moment. So there's another view close-up of the site plan. The parcel is 1.4 acres, and the proposed building is to be 1 story and 9,500 square feet. There's some photos of the site. There is existing sidewalk along Waldron Road. And basically it's a vacant lot. There is some, looks like growth and some small trees that have tried to move back into the site, but it's mainly a vacant site. This photo is from the rear parking lot of Ascend Federal Credit Union, and that's looking toward the north. And again, the trees in the back, it's hard in the wintertime, but you can see when these leaf out, there are some mature trees in the rear that will provide a nice buffer for that lot. So moving on to the architectural elevations, last month they were showing brick on a large part of the building, but there was some areas of metal that were shown. And since that time, they've been working on the architectural elevations. They have now gone with basically an all brick building, and these are the elevations on the screen. And they did submit those as well in your packets, and they're full size or in the back of your plan set. So the metal is gone, and they're going with a brick that sort of has it looks kind of a whitish color, but there is some red. I'll let them speak to that, sort of a mix of the colors. And the architectural comments were actually the last technical comments. This project has also deferred a couple times, so all those comments have been taken care of. And I don't believe there's any left in the report, so I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Name and address for the record, if you don't mind, sir.
J. Fulmer, 2002 Richard Jones Road, Nashville, Tennessee. So the only outstanding comment from the workshop was relative to, it's really hard to get this to print right and color-wise, so we labeled it, the material will govern, this board will govern, this is what they plan to use on the building, and I wish it were easier to get them to be identical, but
Yes, sir.
this is it. So if y'all are comfortable with this, then that will have addressed all comments, and we're looking forward to breaking ground.
Very good.
I have a
Questions,
question
comments?
for
Mr. Rutledge?
Bode. Does everything they've submitted now does meet all the overlay requirements for that area? Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You gang?
Mayor?
I just want to thank the engineer. My understanding is that you, or someone on your team had to hand color most of the,
He shares in it, so Chad's here with the developing group out of Oxford, and they share an office with,
yeah,
with
had
the
to
architect.
hand color the architectural materials for us. So I will say thank y'all for that. If there's no other questions, I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
We have a motion to accept as submitted by Mayor Cole. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rutledge. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank
Thank
you,
y'all.
sir.
Thank you.
Item number 5, Planning Commission Resolution 2022-01, amendment to the subdivision regulations, amend Article 2, Section 2, 106.2, and Article 4, Section 4, 108.5, to refer these fees to the fee schedule that is being established by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Mr. Logan, Mr. Brown.
Covered that already.
Basically on this, it's just pretty much where we've put together a fee schedule. That's what you had the public hearing on tonight, and we basically took out the language of what the fee is in these subregs to where it will refer back to the fee schedule that will be adopted by the mayor and aldermen, and of course, that'll be adopted yearly with the budget, so that's basically what this is for.
Very good. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Entertain a motion if no questions or comments.
Motion to accept the Planning Commission Resolution 2022-01.
Motion to accept by Alderman Coates and a second by Mayor Cole. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. On to our next item. Item number 6. First item in new business. Site plan, Jones Boulevard Industrial, new building totaling 84,000 square feet on 7.25 acres, requested by Kimley Horn, property located on Jones Boulevard and Bain Drive, tax map 17, parcel 7.01, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by the State Street Group LLC. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. This is a request for site plan approval for a new building totaling 84,000 square feet to be built on Jones Boulevard. And see here on the screen, it's the parcel is shaped like a T. So you've got Bain Drive to the south, and then Jones is to the north. And closer look, you can see that a little better. So again, it's this T shape, and over here, the dark color is actually a stand of trees, which is really the only vacant part left between Bain and Jones. So that forested area is where they're going to build the proposed building of 84,000 square feet. And here's the zoning map. And you can see everything's dark blue, which indicates I-2 heavy industrial zoning. And really the whole area is mostly I-2 except for the parcels that front Waldron Road. This site's about 7.25 acres. And you can see this picture is taken from Jones Boulevard near the top of the hill. So this fence is the boundary between the site and Piles Concrete. So Piles is to the left. And you can see a pretty heavily forested tract there. And then moving down the hill toward Waldron Road, this is another photo of the property. And then I believe these are from the Bain side, sort of looking up the hill. There's the site plan on the screen, and you can see the parking would be along the north side of the building. And pretty straightforward distribution and warehouse type facility. And a little bit closer look, you can see what they're proposing. And this site has also been, well, the Plat, at least, has been before you all before. And so that's the next item on the agenda. But this site plan and the Plat go along together. And they are providing 100, looks like right at 100 car parks, which is well within our ordinance. So there's plenty of parking that's being provided. And there's no other comments left outstanding, so that completes the report. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there a representative here this evening for this project? Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Deaton Hildebrand, 2127 Melody Drive, Franklin, Tennessee, representing Kimley Horn.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? No?
I do appreciate you addressing the 10 staff comments and the one item on the 30 feet. I appreciate that. And with that, I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
We have a motion to accept by Alderman Coates. Do we have a second?
Our second.
Second by Mayor Cole. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 7, final plat re-subdivision of 141 Bain Drive, one new lot on 7.25 acres requested by Kimley Horn, property located on Jones Boulevard and Bain Drive, tax map 17, parcel 7.01, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by State Street Group LLC. Mr. Logan.
Thanks. So this is the same site as we talked about in the last item. The site's 7.25 acres, and it lies between Bain Drive and Jones Boulevard. And this is the plat that was necessary. Main point of this plat was to get the public utility and drainage easement delineated for the water service, and so that was the main point of the plat. There's not been any comments on the plat. Not been any this go-round. There were just a couple in the beginning, but this is pretty much a straightforward site, so that completes the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? If not, we will entertain a motion.
Motion to accept as submitted.
Motion to accept as submitted, Mayor Cole.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rutledge. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8, site plan, advanced care medical, new building of 3,550 square feet on 1.1 acres, requested by CISO Inc., property located at 5181 Murfreesboro Road, tax map 15, parcel 2.02, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District, property owned by Sally Wallace Investments, LLC. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. This is the follow-up to the site plan for Advanced Care Medical. And of course, this site is right in front of the existing Planet Fitness. And you can see it here on Murfreesboro Road. So the stormwater and planning building is just 2 doors down from this site on Murfreesboro Road. And there's a closer look at the site. And it's basically was graded a long time ago, and just a basic flat piece of land. Shopping center behind it with Planet Fitness, and then this gas station is just southeast of it. So on the zoning map, we're talking about this solid red rectangular area that is zoned C2, and all the area around it is zoned C4, which is the shopping center district currently. There's a closer view to zone, so we're on this lot here. And here's some snowy pictures of the lot. And you can see the existing restaurant. I believe it's a Mexican restaurant now. It used to be Chinese restaurant. But anyway, that's the neighbor to the north side. So this is taken from the parking lot in front of Planet Fitness. And this is a site plan that was approved in October, so about 3 months ago. And you see, pretty simple in and out with the point of connection back at the parking lot for Planet Fitness, and no direct connection to Murfreesboro Road. And then this is what I call the L-shaped plan. So you've got the same connection point at the northerly end of the site, and then a new connection point to this driveway that runs beside the Mexican restaurant. But still no new access to Murfreesboro Road. So this is the two plans, these are the two plans that were submitted. And that's the approved one, and that's the L shape. And the applicant provided this one in your packet tonight for you to view. And of course, all of this stems from some fire issues. I'll let someone else speak to that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Logan.
I can pick up on kind of where we at, or
Please,
where
sir.
we are on this. Basically, like he stated, we do have an improved plan on this. Once it got further into the review of building plans, et cetera, it was noted that there was an issue with fire or meeting the fire code, and the current plan as approved does not meet the fire code. So we had worked with the applicant to submit us at least a plan sheet back to discuss, getting something in front of y'all that does meet the fire code. So at the workshop, if you'll remember, we discussed pretty lengthy discussion concerning what Bo was referring to as this L-shaped plan. Now, this PDF is actually, because when I looked at it, I know we had discussed making it a one-way drive, everything else, and she said she did, and that's what was in the packets. And if you'll look at your packet, it actually does not match. Everything matches what's currently on the screen, except for you've got additional information on your plan, and I do have a PDF now that matches that, but I got it very late this afternoon and couldn't get it to put it on the screen. But basically, what's in your packet, you'll have the drive that is added. We'll have two painted arrows on the pavement to delineate out that it is a one-way drive. There's going to be two signs, one on each side of the entrance closest to that, I'm going to say north-south access that goes into Planet Fitness. There'll be a one-way drive, basically signage on there. That's on your plans. They added a stop bar. If you go to on the screen, if you go to the right of the crosswalk from the sidewalk going over, to the right of that, there's going to be, if you'll look at your plan, there's a stop bar that will be painted on the pavement, and two signs on each side of the drive. It says "Do not enter." I did bring up, because I know the board had said something about angled spaces would make it more of a forced one-way because of different driving habits and stuff like that. They had preferred to leave it the 90 degrees. Some people prefer to back into spaces as opposed to pulling in. If you do angled spaces, for one, that'll eliminate that possibility of being able to back in. Like I say, some people prefer that and think that is safer than, pulling into spaces. So they had preferred to leave, if this board is okay with it, to satisfy the fire code with what's submitted in your packet, which would be the L-shaped drive with the signage and pavement markings that they've got, pretty much stating out that it's a one-way drive. If we all know that somebody may not follow that, but it's at least trying to get it to be one-way. And they had preferred to leave the 90-degree. If this board does not feel that they're willing to approve that, they'd at least request deferral to discuss going to another workshop. But hopefully, the board will be okay with at least this layout. I know it's not what everyone on here wanted, but this does meet the fire code. And I can Curtis can discuss the fire code issue if you've got questions on it.
If you would, please, Mr. Curtis.
So do you have any specific questions as far as why that needs to, the accommodation needs to be made? Or, I know Chief Beasley was here, during the workshop. Unfortunately, I was out with the COVID.
Yes, sir.
And I think he told me he tried to answer as much as he could.
And he did a wonderful job. So if you could just give a brief summary as to why we have to have the other entrance.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fire code states in one of the Appendix D, as far as approved fire department apparatus access, anything that exceeds 150 feet must have an approved fire department turnaround, all right, for multiple reasons. One, for tactical, and two, for safety on operating fire apparatus. You start backing those up, extended, links, it can become a hazard. The entrance, the way it was submitted originally, and unfortunately due some personal things, I wasn't able to be at that planning commission when they resubmitted it and it was changed. But when I called it during our actual code review, it exceeded that 150 foot. So what we always attempt to do is implement a turnaround first, okay? The way the code reads, if topography and the land itself does not allow or will not accommodate an approved turnaround, then a variance can be given. And we have done that. All right, just to be honest. However, you cannot put an approved turnaround in that particular parcel the way it's designed now. But there are other means that can be complied with, such as this access, which they would have to do. So because it exceeded that 150, unable to put an approved turnaround in, we suggested that it be put back to what you see now referred to as the L-shaped. Just so the board knows, we do look at other items, as far as not only fire safety, but things that may impede, other citizens' travel. So not necessarily what we enforce, but we do consider it. I was told that, traffic studies and things had been done, but as a courtesy, and obviously this being a specific topic that the commission wanted addressed, Mr. Brown felt that it would be, the most courteous thing to do is to have it come back through the board and to seek your approval. Speaking on the parking stalls, the engineer has been very good in staying in contact with me. I spoke with her as recent as yesterday. She explained to me more in detail on the parking stalls that it's become their company policy that they actually back in because I guess studies have shown that it is safer, especially in a parking area that people are going to be walking, where pedestrians could be coming out. Pulling out, being able to visually see what you're pulling into is apparently safer than backing in. So that's why they have preferred to leave it at the 90 versus the angled. So I can't tell you that that's what was relayed to me yesterday.
Very good.
So,
Thank
yeah,
you very much.
if you know the questions, I'll happily answer, but that's pretty much the gist of it.
Very good. And if you don't mind, Mr. Cope, do you have any comments on this? Please, sir.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think, concur with everything that Colin Curtis had said. As it stands now with the current approved site plan, and it's no fault of the planning commission, but what you've done, and it not to be personal, but what's happened in essence is that the city has adopted a site plan that would require the applicant to violate the fire code, and so we couldn't leave that alone anyway. So it needs to be addressed one way or the other, and this is certainly one way to do it. But I'd be happy to.
Very good. Does anybody, please, Mayor?
Mr. Cope, can you, or Mr. Brown as well, can you speak to the access on the Planet Fitness drive side, please?
Sure. Yes, sir. So I'm aware, I guess, and that there might be some issue with respect to whether or not Planet Fitness, whether or not there's an easement that would allow access from this particular lot across the Planet Fitness parking lot. And the way to view that from your perspective is that that's sort of outside the scope or beyond the scope of what your inquiry is. That's really the problem or the issue for the applicant to deal with. Meaning that it's not up to the planning commission to adjudicate what may be a dispute between use of a parking lot based on whether or not there's an easement there that's in effect or not. So let's just play out some different scenarios. Let's say that, that this gets approved and then Planet Fitness decides that the landowner does not have the right to use the driveway. Well, then that puts this particular applicant in a situation where they have a site plan that they cannot use. They can't operate under it. So they would have to come back to the planning commission again with some other scenario to deal with, because what could happen in essence is that the Planet Fitness owners could then sue these folks and get an injunction prohibiting them from driving across that. But for your consideration, that's between the two landowners for them to resolve, and it's not anything that the planning commission can weigh in on one way or the other.
Very good. Thank you.
And I would like to point out also on that, Bo, if you could go back to the aerial photo. This was pointed out by the applicant today. Of course, they did their due diligence and looked into this already. Of course, not going to get into what their legal says or whatever, but it is something you can see on the screen right here. If you look at the private drive going into the site, Planet Fitness is already going across this applicant's lot to get to their building. So, I mean, they're already crossing each other. So, just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from the board on this? There is no applicant here this evening for this?
No, we told them not, with the situation we had, since they had already come to, is basically about 6 meetings because of deferrals, that since this was something on our end, basically, that we would only ask that they come if it came to a point where the planning commission couldn't approve something.
Very good. With the property situation, and I kind of would like to talk to the applicant a little bit about the map, just one or two things, even though it looks great. Does the board feel we possibly should defer so we can, or at least give them an opportunity to get that resolved?
For myself, I'm fine with it. I listened to the meeting. I know I was out with COVID myself, but I listened to the whole meeting. I'm personally satisfied with the changes, and I know the access issues are between the two. So for me, I would make a motion to approve as submitted.
I will entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
I have one question before,
Discussion.
I want to second, but I want to, this right here is going to override what was originally adopted, right? Do they not have to resubmit a whole new plan with everything showing landscaping and lighting and all of that stuff? Or is this going to be sufficient to take care of all of that?
We'll get the rest of the sheets. They'll resubmit a full plan set that reflects the changes that you've got with the drive.
So do we have to approve that, or am I approving that blindly?
Now, you'd be approving this, and of course, where it's grass, it will turn into pavement because you've got that. If there's any trees or shrubs or anything like that, we will adjust those accordingly.
Okay.
So basically, excuse me, same landscape plan as before.
Yes, you'll end up with the same amount of shrubs, same amount of trees. It's like I say, if something comes into a way, we'll shift it. Like I say, we felt this was the fairest thing to do, because if you start looking at it and they've got to submit 10 copies 2 or 3 different times of 10 sheets, that's all money that, again, like Curtis was saying, it's unfortunate, he had situations come up whenever, we're just trying to be fair about this.
And I totally agree with that, and I'm not mad at any, I just want to make sure that we are covered. Number one, it's the city. And number two is that all of those things are still the way they're supposed to be, because I'm not seeing them. I only see this, and that's the only reason I ask for myself. So if all of that is true, then I will second.
We have a second by Mr. Rutledge. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, amendment to site plan, U-Haul, 5 new buildings totaling 136,500 square feet on 10 acres requested by SEC, property located at 503 New Paul Road, tax map 17, parcel 40.03, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Americo Real Estate Company. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. So this is a site plan amendment to the U-Haul site that was approved in June of 2019. On the screen is a zoning map, so we're talking about this highlighted area here in the blue outline. So this is a pretty solid area of heavy industrial zoning, except for the apartments, the one apartment site there on the screen, which is that green triangle. So this is a kind of the 30,000 foot view, but this is I-24. So Smyrna's to your right and down southeast. This site is outlined here in blue, and the neighbor to the north back in 2019 was Olympia Coach, but now Olympia has been bought. That property has transitioned into Southern Tire. So I think on the next shot, so you can see the Southern Tire building is here, and then Volvo is the next property up. Anyway, this is the site as it looked before construction, and this is a photo from 2019 before the site started construction, and then contrast that with today. This is what it looks like today with the building that's there. And of course, there's metal on the exterior, which is an issue because it doesn't meet the overlay requirements. But this is the new construction, and then this is the rear of the lot. as it appears this month. It has been striped, and you'll notice in my report, the original site plan called for at least 5 buildings. There would have been the large building that I just showed you, which was to be a 3-story building, and then 4 1-story buildings. And U-Haul has since decided to not build the 4 in the back, or to do them at a later date. So, of course, they've approached the city trying to get a CO, and it doesn't match the plan from 2019. So that's why it's back here tonight. So, of course, you all saw them 2 weeks ago at the workshop, and you probably remember the discussions from that night, and a lot of that was about the architectural elevations. I want to show you, this is the plan that was submitted for the June 2019 building, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. So this is what was approved. So it's a pretty deep site, so they're showing you in 2 sections. So that's building A, which is the tall building, and then this is the rear. And you'll notice on this plan that there is a lot of covered areas indicating they would have built some type of parking structures that would have covered the parking spaces. So that has also been changed. So I'm just kind of outlining all the changes that have occurred from 2019. These are the original elevations that were submitted and ultimately approved. And you can see there's several mentions of stucco. So this is a stucco with the leader line pointing toward this vertical element. Thinking the next one, there's, here's more mention. So 2 leader lines here. You can see this dark color, which is orange today. Doesn't look as orange in this photo, but or in this image. But that's supposed to be stucco. This beige color, darker beige, is supposed to be stucco. The lighter colors, basically everything at the front of the building extending back to about 250 feet was supposed to be stucco. So these are the original. And there's one more shot at the original elevation that was approved. So, and one thing that stuck out to me when I reviewed the set that's in your packets is we specifically had a discussion about this diamond pattern and the diamond branding, and the Planning Commission was very specific that month that they did not want it. So U-Haul took that off, which is one reason it's not out there today. However, it showed back up in this plan set, which it shouldn't be in there. And I've got several comments in the report about why is the diamond clad back in when you all very explicitly said don't put it on the building, but yet they submitted this set with them on there. So I don't know, but that's a bad oversight on their part. I'll say that. And it should have been corrected. So if you've got questions about that, so do I. The other sheets that say preliminary, there shouldn't be any preliminary sheets. I mean, this is a voting meeting. So those are my other comments. They shouldn't have any preliminary sheets in the plan set. That's what workshops are for. I don't know why they're in there. And I've not had any contact from them to tell me what their intentions are. So that's one thing that will need to be done tonight. So I left this blank slide to show you all that's the end of the original submittal of 19. Then you got the blank slide, then the beginning of this submittal. So this is the building that's in your plan set. I can't tell whether the square footage is, you know, or any different from the building that's out there today versus what they submitted in 19 or not. But at any rate, this is the rear of the lot. So it's showing up in your packets, same as this. It's just a blank slate. So not exactly sure the intentions there. There is striping. If you go out there tonight, you'll see the striping. So I don't know why something didn't reflect on this sheet, but so these are renderings that were provided, and again, here's this diamond pattern that's showing up, which you all had already rejected in 2019. So that led me to believe that this is just a prototype, that they just stuck a prototype in the Laverne plans, which is not helpful for fixing our problem. I mean, the problem is to get the building fixed and like you all want it, but then they went back to this cladding in this rendering. So those are way off. I don't know why they're in the set. Again, there's the diamond pattern. I can only assume it's a prototype that is stuck on every U-Haul across the United States, because I don't have any other way to explain it. So these are what's in your plan set tonight. This is all four sides, north, south, east, west, and so on. And then you can see some of the fire escape steps, and there is tilt-up concrete, this bottom layer. If you've driven out there, you've seen it. That does match these plans, but that would be probably it. There is this tilt-up concrete, and it's called out from the 2019 set. So, along with all the changes that they have proposed, especially in that back area and the buildings that are not being built, those, along with the architectural comments, are what's left to go over in the report. And I think that pretty much sums it up, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. At this moment, I'm going to excuse myself from the remainder of the meeting and turn it over to my vice chair. Everyone have a good evening.
Do we have a representative here tonight for this? You can state your name and address for the record, please.
Zach Wolpart with Site Engineering Consultants, 850 Middle Tennessee Boulevard in Murfreesboro. So as for the elevations, I believe those were, the wrong file got mixed in. This was old file. Unfortunately, I was out the week this was submitted because of COVID. So I believe the wrong file got uploaded. This is not the correct elevation. We will have to correct that. As for the striping in the rear, what the photo was is at the back of that large building. That is just a laydown area. The striping that was shown on the old plans was for RV parking, which is not striped today. That striping is not there today. I think you got the location confused on that photo, so. So go right there, down below, up, that one. Right below that building, there's striping on the plans. And that's what that photo was of.
When you say below the building, where are you referring?
Right here, that's the south of the building, there's striping there, and that's what that photo was. That is directly behind the building. There's a small little segment drive that goes back to where the RV storage was that we have removed. That is located right here on this sheet. And then the next sheet is of the
Hey, go back to that, one more, Bo. No, other way. That. So you're telling me that's removed?
that is removed. There's no striping.
So that was in 2019?
Right.
And you're saying that's no longer going to be there?
That is no longer going to be there. It's just a paved, flat area right now. There's no striping. Those small buildings are not there, as is reflected on the plans today.
Madam Chairwoman, does the applicant plan to get fully in compliance with the overlay district?
Yes, the stucco will be put on the front, over the metal paneling. It will be not the colors that are shown on the elevations you have in front of you. It will be reflective of these ones that are on the materials boards. Those elevations are correct.
So I have maybe a different but same question. Do all of your revised plans plan to meet every single overlay district in that area for that building?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
At this point, since this is a voting meeting, though, that doesn't really matter. We don't have them in front of us, so probably a deferral is gonna be,
Well, that's what I was going to make a motion.
That's something that someone can make a motion and vote on. For me, and this is another question with me, because this is, originally you are wanting to subdivide it, but it's really just a site plan amendment. Why come back? Why didn't this occur at the very beginning? I know you are wanting to get into this building as quickly as possible, but we have one set of plans, and then you come back later on to change that, so.
Jeff Porter, 1515 Gallatin Pike, Madison, Tennessee. Like said in the workshop, just the plans change, dealing with COVID, trying to get materials and everything else. And we're using this time because we don't have materials to build what we wanted to build. As a time to reflect to make sure that our business model is actually going to be a good business model going forward. As for the elevations that were submitted, it was just a mix-up. I spoke with Randolph and Bo last week about application methods for stucco. I'm getting some sample materials brought in. Should have those this week to bring to Randolph and Bo for them to review so we can get in compliance with the overlay. What we're looking to do now is just remove that RV storage in those 5 buildings in back, get compliance, get our CO, and move forward.
I have a question.
So here's my comment, this is for the board. We have a lot of confusion. We have a lot of disagreements of which is the right revision, what is the issue. We have still outstanding 6 issues from staff technical comments, and I believe we should back the staff with the issues, and I think we need to step back with this. The applicant wants to continue on with what he wants to do, but I would like to make a motion to deny, because I want to get it shut down, let them reapply, get everything correct they want to do, and come back to this board with new and correct plans, that there's no arguments of who said what and where. So that's my discussion. I'll make that as a motion, just to deny and then move forward from there.
I'll second that.
So when we're not shutting down, what we're saying is, okay, this application is now stopped. They revise all their plans, sort out all the 6 technical items, and that's what I'm handing as far. The 6 technical items are our item for saying denial. They address all 6 items, come back to the workshop, supply the correct plans, sort out the overlay district issues, and get everything sorted out with all the staff, and then come back to this board.
So my question is there a time, I mean, they don't have to wait any period of time, it's just when they would be ready to reapply?
Whenever they're ready to reapply and comply with, and supply the
I wasn't
plans
sure
to
the
both.
rule on that.
It's just to basically reset and restart again and get it where it's all correct and everyone's talking about it and get it sorted out and start with a fresh set of plans that meets the requirements.
So instead of a denial, could we just defer it?
So before we do that, I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
So at one point, while you're building a building that was already approved, and you just said that you didn't have the materials, did you not know or think I should probably get with the planning commission, city, somebody else, and say, I might need to get this checked before I finish building a building? Because I'll be honest with you, as big of a building as it is, where it's located, and it doesn't meet the overlay district at all, that's to me is completely unacceptable.
Right. And
Y'all-
that's what we're working on fixing.
Okay, so,
And then to answer your question, you were asking about, can you do a deferral instead? You would have had to, for an applicant to automatically do a deferral, that has to happen before this meeting.
Okay.
At that point, then it's on the board to either make a motion to approve, deny, or defer an item. And in this case, there's been a motion and a second to deny it, and then that gives y'all the chance to start all over and get through this process.
Okay.
And have a clean slate, so to say.
right, so you're not bound to next month to come back. You could do it when it's convenient for you, that you can, that you know you can get your stuff straight.
I got it.
Okay.
So we have a motion to deny. Mayor Cole second the motion. So guess we vote on it. All in favor,
But
say aye.
one comment from staff. I just want to make sure that it's discussed in this meeting, because I can't tell from the way these plans are going, but the overlay goes back 250 feet. It's not just, and I mean, it's not just that tower. It goes back a long way. So if we're going to start over, and whatever, it doesn't matter what my opinion is, but you all need to know, I wouldn't even apply again until you know that you can get stucco back 250 feet. It's not just the tower. So I just want to make sure that that's This was brought up 2 weeks ago, and I think it kind of died.
And that's something that y'all can meet on with the pre-application meeting. Staff is usually available for that. So y'all can work through any issues. That's part of this.
Because that doesn't change whether it's deferred or denied.
No,
That's still part
that's
of the
just an
overlay.
outstanding issue.
Yeah, I would get with staff.
Sure.
And make sure that you are on the right page.
Okay.
So, all in favor? Say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No? Okay. Denial passes, motion passes. Let's see. The next item on the agenda, number 10, is to set the bond amount for Webb Estates Phases 1 and 2, tax map 14, parcels 23.16 and 23.17, requested by Womble and Associates, R1, low-density residential zoning district.
This is the same thing we discussed in the workshop. Basically, all the information is the same. They had submitted, what was required. The bond amount was going to be, since it's maintenance bond amount, it was going to be $20,000. Everything looks sufficient on that, so it has been reviewed, and that seems to be sufficient.
Does anyone have questions or concerns on that?
Make a motion to accept as submitted.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. And then number 11, we have a bonds, letters, and credit update.
Yes, everyone should have an updated bond sheet in front of them. One of the things I will point out is we did get one extension, which is from Carruthers Crossing Phase 1, so that's reflected on the sheet. So its new expiration date is January 19th of '23. Jules has been in contact with Wilson Bank. I think they're supposed to get her the revised letter of credit for Chelsea Estates Phase 2 sometime next week, so that would be.
Can you repeat that one? I'm sorry.
We've been in contact with Wilson Bank, so Chelsea Estates Phase 2, that expires in February. So that should be extended prior to the expiration date. And then other thing I'll point out is that one thing I think has been missing from the last several bond update lists that you've got is the active and complete as far as the lots in each phase. I feel that's important for y'all to know and have in front of you. So I'm just going to let you know I will definitely get that prior to next month, get that information added back in there. I don't know why it had been dropped off, but I will work on the process to get that back included so you'll know, like I said, which is really key whenever you start looking at the percentage completion. When it gets to 90%, we want to make sure that we hold them off on permits, things like that, for them to get the subdivision acceptance, so they'll finish up everything before they start pulling the last permits. And that's pretty much all I've got.
Okay. Any questions on that? Meeting adjourned.